Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Vince, and this is Miss Doreen Carter. She is the State House Rep for District 93 in the state of Georgia, and she is here with me to talk what it's like governing at the state level. So we're going to make ourselves some lunch, some chickpea pasta situation going on. Sit down and talk politics. Stick around. We'll be right back. So you ready to get started on our lunch?
Yeah.
So we're going to make ourselves some chickpea pasta. I know you said you like eating everything above ground.
Yeah.
Chickpeas, and some red onions, red pepper, some mushroom spinach, and we're going to top it off with a little grilled salmon cubes. That's cool?
Yeah.
All right, so we can start with cutting our mushrooms in quarters.
Okay.
However you do it is fine, like straight down the center, and then turn it and cut again. That's it. Push those to the side, and we keep going.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Keep going. Just do the whole bowl, and that will complete that. So while you're doing this, don't cut your fingers.
Right.
Where are you from? You're from Georgia?
I am from Georgia. I actually grew up in the city of Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Are you from Atlanta?
The real Atlanta.
Atlanta.
In the city limits of Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay.
So we grew up in the city of Atlanta under the DeKalb County side. But it's still in the city, so.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So
City of Atlanta.
City of Atlanta, east side.
East side. Oh, East Atlanta.
Well, actually, where we grew up, they call that Edgewood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the Auburn Avenue Edgewood, but
a little further east.
So that side is still Edgewood. Because most people, they know East Lake, they know Kirkwood,
right?
And then they know that side of Edgewood. But where we grew up on Whiteford Avenue is Edgewood as well. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So I'm a native, Grady baby.
Okay. How did you, I want to skip fast forward. How did you get interested in politics? Did something happen that said, I got to get involved, or were you always interested?
I was never interested, but growing up, my mom was always involved in the community, was involved in stuff at church, and my mom helped with various campaigns. We didn't really know what she was doing.
Okay.
So my husband and I, when we bought the house we live in now, ironically enough, we bought it in a city. So we had lived in Lithonia, but we bought a house in the city of Lithonia.
City of Lithonia.
And we should have known, but we didn't. But in the city, they had their own government. So growing up, because we were used to volunteering, we just got involved in the community. And one day, I thought to myself, it was, they needed some help. We needed to get involved. And I said, I got skills.
Okay.
I got skills. I can, go and help out. I'm a rep for office. Did not know what I was getting myself into. So, yeah.
Which office was that?
So I ran for city council. So I had an opportunity to serve on the city council in the city of Lithonia. That was my first elected office. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was kind of cool.
So you started in local government.
Local government, yes. And again, not really knowing what I was getting myself into, but I was accustomed to being involved in the community. I saw that there were some things that needed to be done. And so, that's how I started. So I got a chance to chair the finance committee was one of my roles. And when I got elected, the city of Lithonia had not had audits in like 4 or 5 years. So my first objective was to make sure that the city got caught up on their audits because they were on the bandit list, meaning they weren't eligible to get any funding from the state or the federal government because their audits wasn't done. So that was one of my first things. So and by profession, I'm an accountant, so I got involved on the finance committee. And then I think the other thing I thought was really important was safety.
Okay.
So I think within being elected like a month and a half, we heard all of these emergency vehicles, and in the middle of the night, so we came out, me and one of my other neighbors who was also on the city council, we went out to see what was going on. Well, what had happened is a young lady had run the railroad, had run the street across the railroad track, and the train was coming. So the train hit her.
Car. Wow.
And so we went out to see that, and what I found out later was there had been several fatalities at that intersection.
Okay.
And even though it was a main street, it didn't have crossing arms. So one of my initiatives, it took me 3.5 years, was to work with CSX Railroad and DeKalb County Department of Transportation to have crossing arms. So now if you go in the city of Lithonia on Main Street in Swift, there are crossing arms. That was work that I had done, and I was really proud that we were able to do that without it costing taxpayers any money.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was just, again, being involved in the community, seeing a need, and being able to use my skill set to help the city. So I felt like I was fairly successful in as a city council person.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So when we get done with this, we're gonna put those back in the bowl. Then we're gonna chop up our salmon.
Okay. Cool. So we're gonna. So don't cut these.
Oh yeah, you can cut those.
Oh, okay.
We're just gonna throw them back in the bowl and get started on the next thing, or leave it there and throw it in the pan when we're done.
Oh man, throwing it back in the bowl. Teach me the techniques in the kitchen.
Did you work on any other departments? Like the finance was the only one, or?
So finance, transportation, and then we used to do different things in the community. We started. We did like movie nights where we would host movies at the senior center at the town down on Bruce Street, where we invite the young people. And then we also we used to do I was the first person that actually started doing the what was called Monday Night Out, where law enforcement came out in the community to talk to the young people about safety, and they would get guns back. So we did different things like that. So that was it. The biggest thing was, like I said, making sure that, am I doing this right?
Oh yes. So we're just gonna cut it in thirds. Yep.
Okay.
And press all the way down to the cutting board and just kind of cut across. It should be sharp enough to cut through.
Did I do that? Look at me. Yes. So and then opportunities with we would do job fairs. Trying to make sure that we would help people get employment, and just whatever we needed to do in the city, we were trying to do, because we wanted to. We thought that was going to be our little Buckhead. We were so excited about moving into the city. We were in a little downtown area. My neighbors, we would sit on my front porch and we would dream about what our city would look like. Yeah, because we was excited. We were going to all get those little trays and walk to the grocery store, and we were going to walk to dinner. Yeah, with all those kind of things.
So the city of Lithonia is actually not that big.
It isn't. It's a square mile.
1 square mile.
1 square mile.
Okay. Kind of like what's that TV show with
Mayberry.
Andy Griffith? Mayberry.
Oh my God! Let me tell you, when we first moved in the city, we would go to the city council meetings. That's how you kind of really found out what was going on. We get involved, and they were having a conversation about a bill that they had received from CSX, and kind of found out the bill was for it was a phone bill. Because they said back in the day, there was this phone on the telegram pole, so when it was an emergency, they would have to go up the pole. And I sat there thinking, now this was like the year 2000. I said, Lord Jesus, we done moved to Mayberry. So that was special. But I mean, you'll be surprised, like on a local level, there's just a lot of things you can do when the government works together. And unfortunately, when I was on city council, it was very turbulent. But one of the things I did was stay focused, because God kept telling me, can you do what I tell you to do regardless of what's going on with you? So I made sure that I stayed focused on making sure that we got out the bandit list, make sure we got our finances in order, make sure we put some safety measures in place, and then found some things for the community to do. So we worked with DeKalb Juvenile Justice. So like if we had people who needed to do community service, we had a partnership with the folk that would help with that. So it's just, there's a lot of things you can do on the local level because you're touching the people. Is there
one thing that you could say you're most proud of working at that level? Or is it just all of it combined?
I mean, it was a lot, but I think like today, I don't know very many people who could say they actually started and closed a deal and worked with CSX, because CSX is like their own government empire within itself, and everybody talks about how you can't get anything done with CSX, but I did. And so that really I am proud of. And the fact that we got our finances in order. So when I left the city council, the city was in a good financial position. We had a good foundation, and it was poised to grow. And so very proud of the work that I did. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are going to get our pots and pans,
Okay.
and we will be right back in 2 seconds. All right, so let's get to warming this, cooking this food. So,
Okay.
a healthy squirt of olive oil.
Okay. Is that a healthy squirt?
That's a very healthy squirt,
Oh,
and that's
okay.
all right.
All
And then we're
right.
going to add start in any order you want, our peppers, onions, and mushrooms.
You know, since they were the last, they can be first.
Oh, you dump them in there.
Okay. Don't be shy.
Don't be shy, dump them in there. All right. And we're going to just give a pinch of salt and pepper. A little pinch of salt. Pinch of pepper. Let that cook in with that.
Okay.
And once we get all
So
of them done, we're going to let that simmer a little bit.
Okay, before we put something else.
And before we put so these are going to take a little longer to cook, and they're going to create a little bit more moisture, so we want that to cook off a little bit.
Cool.
So after city government, you progressed on. Did you move right away to state government? So I remember reading that you ran for the Secretary of State.
I did. Back in 2014.
2014.
I ran for Secretary of State.
Okay.
And I was actually a Democratic nominee for
You were
Secretary
the nominee.
of State. Yes. And I did have an opponent. You know, it's like I didn't. And so, but interestingly,
who was your opponent? It's all right to say.
I think his last name was Beckham or something.
Okay.
But that year, there were 5 black females who had won the nomination in a major party. And that had never happened in Georgia. And we found out that had never happened in our nation. So we made national history.
Wow.
And so they called us the Georgia Five. So it was 5 black women who had won the nomination of a major party. So yeah, so it was cool. And so we got a chance, for me, being from Georgia, being able to travel around the state. We met some really good people. And going back to my skill set, I thought the Secretary of State position fit what my professional life, because the Secretary of State oversees corporations, securities, elections, and licensing. Is a lot that goes on in the Secretary of State's office. A lot of people just talk about the election and the voting aspect, but it's so much more. And so, being someone who's in financial services, I was a former chamber executive, so the business and all of that really played to my strengths. And then I did run against the gentleman who's our current governor. He was my opponent.
Wow.
And so I think I did pretty good. Got over 1 million votes. So I think we got 40-something% of the vote. So it wasn't a landslide. He had to fight for that, and he had money, and I didn't.
Oh, okay.
Learn quickly. Don't use your personal money to run for office.
Do you get reimbursed when you use your own money?
Well, you only if you raise it. But one of the things that I've learned over the years, that it really takes money to run for office, and some people think that only lobbyists or people that want something, from a legislative standpoint, but regular everyday people really should get in the habit of supporting candidates, because it takes money. We have to hire staff, we have to travel, we have to communicate. And so I learned in that race that you can't be shy about asking for money. And so that was one of those things. It's like, when you run for office, you gotta ask for money. And so me being so super independent, I'm always like, I'm gonna do it myself. But yeah.
Did you feel like the people who you might ask for money might want something?
Not all of them. Some of them. I mean, so here's the thing. There are some people that you naturally agree with, right? So there are some policies that you support. So those people are gonna support you. But then there are people that want to have someone representing their party, so they support you, right? And so I did get some support from some major organizations, but I may have gotten more had I just asked.
Had you asked.
And so that's the biggest thing, getting to the ask. So yeah, so that was fascinating. Just running for that, and I learned quickly that that's not, that's a lot of work. And then life, took some changes, in 2014. I don't know if you got to, in 2015, I actually had a heart attack. So that slowed my roll a little bit too. And I was like, let's sit down, which, after having a heart attack in 2015, I surprised a lot of people that I actually ran for a state house.
Okay.
In 2015, but I talked it over with my doctor before we did it, and it birthed an initiative that I have in the state house. Is every February I go and tell the elected officials that they need to eat a little bit better, and we do something called Go Red for Women. So we try to bring awareness to heart disease in women, because heart disease is the #1 cause of death in Black women.
And it was the cause of death for my sister.
Yeah, and so I feel fortunate to still be here.
Yes.
And so that actually gave me a platform to talk about eating better, being healthy, and understanding how cardiovascular disease affects a lot, because a lot of times we just either didn't know it, didn't think about it, and people keep, they think that it's hereditary, and it really isn't. It's the behavior, because of how we learn to eat.
How you learn to eat.
Right? And so now we have to relearn how to eat. Yeah.
So
which I appreciate.
A lot of lifestyle.
Yes.
Lifestyle changes.
It's exercise, drinking water. We still working on the exercise part.
And the water is hard too.
Now the water's not hard for me. I can keep a water in. It's like, just gotta make myself exercise and eat right regularly.
Okay.
But you gotta find you some water that you like. But we ain't advertising.
Oh, I like a good old city tap.
Oh no, God bless you.
No. We got peppers and onions and get them going.
Okay. Okay, so we can put these in together.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that smells good. Wish y'all could smell it.
And
so now I love red onions, but I have never thought about sauteing red onions in a dish.
they work well. The onion flavor is not overpowering.
Yeah.
The only catch is if you want something real onion smell, you have to use a different onion. I mean, real onion flavor. Use a different onion because this one's very subtle.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a good onion. I like it.
Do a pinch?
Yeah, another pinch of salt and pepper. We're gonna. Our salt is helping to sweat out some of the moisture from the vegetables as well.
Oh, okay.
So our pepper is going to give it a little bit of bite. So we want everything to be seasoned because the mushrooms grabbed everything already.
Oh.
So we want to give it some other stuff. And
so do we just sit or we swirl it?
We're going to let it sit and marinate a little bit, toss it a little bit, and then we are going to add in our pasta with this.
Okay.
Give it a stir.
Okay.
No, we're not going to do that.
We're not?
We still have to wilt our spinach.
Okay.
But believe it or not, if this is all warm, we could put the spinach in there and it'll wilt down. So we don't have to cook that one.
Okay. Cool.
So back to the state house. So we're moving along.
Okay.
How did you get to the state house? So wait, let me backtrack. You said you had a heart attack.
I did.
Was it specifically lifestyle stuff, or was it like the stresses from the job and all those things?
Well, I think it probably was a combination of things, but mostly food.
Mostly food.
Yeah, because what we found out afterwards that I had 100% blockage.
100%.
100% blockage.
So no blood going through.
Right. So yeah. So thank God we got to the hospital.
Indeed.
But a lot of it is the food that I was eating, and that was clogging my arteries because my blood pressure wasn't necessarily out of whack and my cholesterol wasn't off. So it was really just clogging it up. And then one of the doctors said that I had thin veins. And I think that goes back to what we eat and how our bodies process food.
Okay.
And so, which is why, I'm loving that we're doing this today, because we have to be able to teach our community that we've got to change our behavior around food, because this cardiovascular disease is not necessarily hereditary. I think the pepper working the girl. Oh, excuse me. I just mean it's good.
That's right.
It's looking good too. Yeah. So just finding out what things trigger adversely affects the blood flow in the body, and then you think about our glucose and our blood sugar, just all of these different things that we don't think about. We were necessarily taught how to eat. Most of us just ate what was put on the plate, and then they ate how they were taught to eat, right?
And it was really what they could afford, not necessarily what was best for you. They made the best out of what they had.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so I love this, and yeah, so now doing better.
Back to
lost
food.
a little weight.
I like that.
Yeah,
Lost a little weight?
Lost a little weight.
Watch out now.
Lost a little weight.
Let me ask you in the middle. I love asking people, like, what does food actually mean to you? Because it's, it's food, we're cooking. Like, what does food mean to you? For me, food is love. That's what I think of when I think about food and it being prepared. And
food makes me happy. I mean, I love food. I love good food. I enjoy cooking. I love dining.
Okay.
I think it gives us an opportunity to just have a place. It creates fellowship opportunities. Yeah. I don't care what's going on. If you bring somebody to the house, it's like everybody somehow always ends up in the kitchen. We're cooking. We're talking. Yeah. It's just a great form of fellowship. But you want it to be good.
You want it to be good and good for you.
Makes me happy. Yeah. Well, we're learning for the good for you, but if it's good, we're happy.
Okay.
But yeah. Okay. And cooking at home, I think that's probably one of the things we think about for us growing up. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was a financial thing or not, but it's just we ate out. And I guess being,
you ate out?
We ate at home. We didn't eat out.
We didn't.
Unless we were traveling or something. But, think about for us, even though we were in Atlanta, we still were in the South.
Yes.
Right? And so my parents grew up in the time of segregated South. So we just didn't dine. We did this at home. It was, fellowship. I was telling somebody the other day that, like my mother, they used to have this social savings club. And it was like once a month they come to the house. They have they dine and fellowship and talk about they had their savings club, and so they would save money and do all these things around a meal. Yeah,
I've never heard of that.
I was thinking Kim was gonna bring it us a social savings. Yeah, so that's what they did.
That's a great idea.
Like because for us also, they would have a big dinner before the holidays, and we all get an envelope with money in it. And so that became our Christmas money. So we didn't do credit cards. We got an envelope with some cash. And so my youngest sister and I, we were part of what we considered that second half of the children, that, because the others were a little older than us. And that would be our money that we go Christmas shopping with. And we did it with cash. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But they saved all year.
Wow. Okay, we're going to give this a stir again.
Stir it? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, stir. Oh, wait. He said stir, and I grabbed those. Okay, we're going to teach me how to cook here.
No, it's all right.
Oh, that is looking good. It's smelling good. That is
looking good. How do you prefer your vegetables, like soft or al dente? That's important to know. Like with a little firmness and snap when you bite it?
It depends on what it is. Like my peppers, I like a little bite. Like the mushrooms. Like right now, it's about good. So I definitely like to see the...
So we are good.
Looking like that. So we're gonna
take
it out.
Scoop those out.
Oh, cool.
No, wait, hold on. We're gonna do it this way.
Okay.
So we just scoop those out.
Pat it out. Oh, that looks good. And you don't want them too soft.
Yep. And we're gonna throw our spinach right in this pan.
Oh, great.
And we're gonna saute that. Just let it wilt down a little bit. We're gonna take that right out.
Okay.
Yep. And then we'll move on to the salmon.
Okay, so we're over here.
Yep, just sit there.
What's so funny is, like, growing up, you could not pay me to eat spinach, but now I love spinach. Oh my God, I love spinach.
Okay, let me have those bowls.
Okay.
So also for our dish, and we're gonna lead into something else. I know State House and all that kind of stuff. So with our meal here, we're going to use some fresh herbs.
Yes.
So we're going to use some basil and thyme and stuff that, have a little garden and all of that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be our additional seasoning on top of that. Okay?
Okay, cool. I think that's kind of cool that your fresh herbs are literally fresh, that you grew them yourself.
Some fresh herbs.
Yeah.
So, do you like basil?
I love basil.
Take a pinch. And a good snip. So we're just going to... pick off the leaves.
Oh, okay.
Like that.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to throw a couple in here with that.
Cool.
Because we're going to go back and mix it all up anyway.
Okay. Cool.
All right, so we have some fresh thyme, and you're just going to kind of opposite direction slide it off.
Okay, and did you go to Crown also? Oh, okay, but you have. So we did. So all
We
these
have.
herbs that
Yeah.
Cool.
So just fresh herbs.
Oh, oops. You
And
don't
they
want the
actually,
stick. You just want the leaves.
just the leaves.
Okay.
All right, and we're going to give our spinach a
Oh my
stir.
God, that smells good.
Yes, fresh. Fresh vegetables you can use a lot less than the dry vegetables.
Okay.
So give that a stir. And that's fine. That's wilted enough.
Oh, okay.
And we can throw our onions and peppers back in.
Here? Okay.
And we're going to throw our pasta in. And we're going to warm them all through together so they can season each other.
Oh my God, this smells so good.
All right. And this is our, we have some chickpea pasta made from chickpeas.
Oh.
Yes, indeed. So they have, and it's a healthier version.
Yes. Gluten-free.
Gluten-free. 19 grams of protein per cup.
Wow.
Which is very good and healthy for you.
Yes. So
give that a toss.
it.
Yep. So we're gonna warm that all through together. So we are gonna give it another squirt of olive oil.
Okay.
And we are gonna add in some of our pasta liquid to create a bit of a sauce.
Oh, okay.
This chickpea, they call this chickpea liquid aquafaba.
Oh, okay.
And so
So when we were growing up, they called it pot liquor.
So this is chickpea pot liquor from the collard greens.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
So that looks amazing. So we're gonna give that a good stir. Give another squirt of olive oil.
Okay.
So
Just a squirt, not a healthy one.
yeah, well you can get healthy squirt, doesn't matter, because we're gonna kind of create a sauce for about half of that cup. So we have 1 cup of the pasta liquid with it.
Okay. Is that right?
Yep. And I'll give it a stir.
Cool. I have learned something new today. I thought it was going to be literally chickpeas, but the pasta is made out of chickpeas.
The pasta is made from chickpeas. So nice, bright, vibrant, colorful.
Yes.
Okay. See our spinach melted,
Yes.
wilted down the rest of the way.
Yes.
All right. So we are good with this portion here.
Okay.
So you're going to take 5 minutes, put this in a bowl, clean our pan. We're going to do 1 pot today. And then we're going to take care of our salmon.
Salmon. Okay.
All right. So stick around. We will be right back. Let's season this, salt and pepper.
Okay. And then,
However much or little that you like. Come on, Food Network.
that was a lot.
All right, and some pepper.
You gotta be able to see the seasoning.
Oh, it's not seasoned if you can't see it.
Okay,
So we're going to touch the bottom so we get some on the bottom side too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then you're going to grab the other set of tongs there, and you can start putting these, after you give a squirt of olive oil, you can put these on the griddle. A little bit more.
A double smile.
That was okay.
So-
Happy face.
Oh, okay.
And just sit it right in there.
Oh, wait. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. I thought you said you cut that through. No.
So
You're
I
good.
do have to worry about...
Oh, no, you just sit in it. Yeah.
Okay.
Just sit them all on there. And they're going to get to going right away. And we're going to let it cook kind of like halfway through.
Yes.
And flip it the rest of the way. And
Okay.
it's good to go.
Yes.
And lunch will be ready.
I like my salmon medium.
Okay.
I'm one of those.
Now, you don't like that dry salmon?
Oh my God, no.
All right. So now we got that done. We're going to let it cook.
Okay.
And you can use those to flip if
Okay.
you are so inclined.
So, like, do we time it or
No,
just
so
feel it?
we're looking so we can see the meat cooking up, so it's turning pink. We can see it cooking up, and kind of get a little bit halfway through. Since you like medium, we'll cook it, turn it, and then it'll do the same thing, and it'll be like a little pink in the center.
Yeah,
Okay. So tell me how you made your way to the State House.
So, originally I was going to wait and run for Secretary of State 4 years later, which would have been, 2018. But my state senator who was my state representative, actually resigned her seat to run for something else. And so that seat came open.
Okay.
And it was a few months after I'd had the heart attack, which was why we were like,
should I be doing this?
And actually I went on a 30-day fast. We were fasting at church, and the last day to qualify for was the day after we ended our fast. Because I knew, I was like, don't make a move. And I just really felt God said, this is time, because I had thought about it. I told my state representative, who had been my state rep forever, Randall Mangum, that if he ever decided to do something else, that I was going to run. Because I really felt like I could represent our community better at the state level. But when he originally decided to not run, it wasn't time for me. But in 2015, I thought it was time. And by then, I had, like I said, I'd been a chair to Lithonia Chamber. I had led the economic development for a lot of initiatives over in what's now Stonecrest.
Okay.
The East Metro DeKalb CID. So I had been doing a lot of economic development work. I had been working for the Georgia PTA then for several years. So I really started to get involved in education advocacy. And so the opportunity came up, and we ran and won.
And won.
By 83 votes.
Come on now.
Every vote counts.
Every vote counts. So for the people that think their votes don't matter.
Your vote matters. That's why they fought so hard. So we're talking, but can I turn these, or is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's time.
I'm feeling like it's time. She started turning whites. But once I got elected in a special election. So, and what that means is click. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. I'm learning something new here with the tongue.
Special election.
Okay. So in special election, but not even really, again, I wanted to serve, but not knowing what I was good. So a special election, so in the Georgia General Assembly, everyone serves 2 years. And so when someone resigns their seat and there's still time left, they have to have a special election to fulfill the seat. Okay. So I came in the second half of what we call the biennial, the second half of the biennial, because Georgia is in a biennial. We're in 2 years. So didn't know what I was doing, didn't know where I was going. And in the legislature, the way we do our business is through committees. Okay. And so that's when, you think you good at a couple things, or where you want to serve, so you go to the speaker and you say, hey, here's some things that I would like to serve on. And then the speaker is the one who decides, like, what committee you get assigned to. But that's how we do our work. That's how when legislation comes forward, it goes through the committee process before it comes to the floor for a vote.
Okay. So as representatives, you guys write legislation?
We do not. Okay, so I'm watching these. Like, can I take these out? These small ones.
You like it like that?
No, you look like I might need to let it stay a little longer. Okay, we'll let it stay a half a second longer.
You can take these out. These are thicker.
These
you want them to look like this right here.
Yes. But I think we'll use that both. Cool.
Yes.
Yes,
so the ones when they're ready, you can place them in there.
Yeah. I think I want to take that piece.
Seasoned nicely, good little sear.
Yes, that's pretty.
All right.
Okay. So we don't actually draft the legislation. We have lawyers that work in legislative council that actually draft legislation according to the Georgia Code. And so you'll see, like, different states may have similar legislation, but it's not the same because their codes may be different, right?
Okay.
But the way a bill it goes through a bill process, the way the bill becomes law. You know, in my head, I'm thinking about schoolhouse rock. Yeah. So actually, it really just starts with an idea. You could come say, "Hey, Representative Carter, I was thinking about something that affected my business. You know, how is this handled in the state of Georgia? If there isn't any legislation, it's something I could take your idea to Legislative Council and say, here's something that we would like to see drafted that could potentially help small businesses in Georgia, right?"
Okay, wait a minute. So
Okay.
me as a regular citizen can come to you and say, can you look into this because it impacts me, however, and
Yeah.
the process can go forward for
Absolutely. So we're going to take regular out. You as a citizen.
me as
You
as a citizen
can come to your state representative.
can come to my representative
and say,
hey, can you look into this? Is there anything that addresses this issue?
Yes.
If not, can you
I'll
look
go to
into
Legislative Council and say, hey, here's a issue that a constituent is having. Is there something already on the books? They'll do some research. Is this something we could propose? And so Legislative Council will draft a piece of legislation. And, I'm looking at this one because it's cooking
Ready.
good. Might let it sit in there another half a second. Do you turn them over twice or does it matter?
Oh, no, you can just let it sit
Just
so
let it
the
sit?
heat will keep going.
Okay, so let me turn this one back over. It might just a tad.
Yeah.
Just a tad. Not much longer, but this one's cooking good. Yeah, and so,
We're going to move all of them kind of on that row because
Okay.
that's how the
Gotcha.
electric thing is made.
Okay.
But go.
So then, so we come back with a bill, and I come back to you and say, okay, let's look over this. Is this what you were thinking? And you say, yeah, Carter, I like that. I was okay. So if it's going to affect the entire state, we call it a general bill.
Okay.
If it's only for the county or a city, we call that a local bill. So if it's legislation that's going to affect the entire state, I'll look at it and kind of see like where I think this bill may go as far as committee, as part of a strategy we use. And I will find people on that committee that may support the legislation and ask for them to sign it. Or I'll find some people that I think would help support this bill. You get the signatures, and then we do what we call drop the bill. So we take it down to the well to the clerk.
Okay.
And then they go through a process where it gets read twice. So you'll get a first read and a second read. So to get a first read, it'll get signed to a committee. Once it gets to the committee, we go to that committee chair and see if we can encourage or convince the chair to allow for a hearing. Because there are thousands of bills that get drafted but that never get a hearing. So if you're fortunate enough to get a hearing, then you try to bring people down to the committee hearing and testify. This is why we want this bill. If some people don't like it, this is why we don't like a bill. And if it's controversial, you'll hear about it in the news, right?
Okay.
But a lot of times you don't hear about those. But your state representative should be communicating with you and their constituents throughout the process so they know what's happening. So if the bill gets committee hearing and is voted favorably out of committee, then it goes to what we call the Rules Committee.
Okay.
And then the Rules Committee chairman, you have to ask them if we can hear your bill. So then if they voted out of rules, it goes onto the rules calendar. If the Speaker of the House wants this bill to move forward, it'll go on what we call a consideration calendar. Then it comes to the House floor, gets debated and voted on. If it's voted favorably, so it's 180 of us, it's a simple majority for most bills, unless it's a constitutional amendment, you need a supermajority.
Okay.
And so if it's favorable out of the House, it'll, that one looks good? It will go over to the Senate and go through the same process that we went through in the House. So if it finishes favorably in the Senate, then it goes to the governor. The governor can either sign it, veto it, lay it on the desk, and if it's laid on the desk, once that waiting period is over, it automatically it passes. And then most laws in Georgia, unless there's something in it with a different date, goes into effect July 1st, or if it has a referendum, it'll go onto the ballot if the voters need to vote. And a similar process if it's a local piece of legislation, meaning it's only going to affect that local jurisdiction, that only the people that's in that delegation will vote. Well, we call it vote, but you sign it, and then it goes to the floor, and then all local bills go on what we call a local calendar and go through that same process again. But yeah.
But you said you only have 2 years. Is that enough time to get that one thing done?
So most bills are passed within that first year. There are some, like I have a piece of legislation that has to go through the 2-year process because it needs a fiscal note. If there's some financial impact to the budget, most of the time they want to see a fiscal note. So I have a piece of legislation where I want to amend a bill that allows for retired teachers to come back into the classroom. And so right now, I think we only have like 3 or 4 priority areas that a retired teacher could come back into the classroom and not lose their retirement benefit. So we're trying to expand those priority areas to potentially bring more school teachers back out of retirement because we really have a shortage of teachers in the classroom. And so because it needs a fiscal note, because it affects teachers' retirement, it'll go through the 2-year process. But most bills, it goes through the 1-year process. Or if a bill comes through the first year of the biennial and it's maybe it gone through the whole process, but it didn't get voted on, it just goes back to committee, but it's still alive. But then at the end of the second year, on the 40th day, so we're in session 40 days, so on the 40th day, that we call it sign and die, party's over. So if it's the second year, everything dies. And if you want to bring a bill back when you come back to the next session, it has to start the process all over again. But if it's alive in the first year, it just carries over to the second year.
That sounds like a huge learning curve if you're not a political science major.
I mean, I think it's a huge learning curve, even if you are a political science major, because even though I just walked through that, but there's a lot going on, depending on who wants it. If it's a piece of legislation that leadership wants, you usually fighting against that, and it really just depends that these two make us sound a little bit. But even if it's a good piece of legislation, if it's from the minority party, in this case the Democrats, it usually doesn't see the light of day. They may give us a couple of bills, but it's a lot going on. Even though you've done all your due diligence, it's still at the mercy of the chairman, the Speaker of the House, and the governor. If your bill gets heard and goes forward.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. So we're going to let these couple pieces finish.
Okay.
Make our plates and sit down and eat.
Yay!
We'll be right back. All right. Let us dig in. I think you did an amazing job. The food looks fantastic.
Yes.
Dig in.
All right.
Let's give it a try. I see what you did right there. I like how you cook the salmon. It's flaky, not dry. It's not fried chicken. It's very good.
So, is there a second job opportunity with this salmon? I did so good.
I'm
this
eating.
is good. I've never had chickpea pasta. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I like it. Very tasty. All the flavors blend together well. I really love the fresh ingredients, the fresh basil, fresh thyme, and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So you were talking about how the bills and legislation and all that goes through. So what are some different committees that you work on? Don't worry about messing up your lipstick. Is that gonna pat gently?
So I am on, I think, 6 committees.
Wow.
So I've been in the legislature 8 years now. So every year I think I get a new committee, but I'm on education, which probably is my favorite committee.
That's your favorite.
I think I worked the hardest in that one.
That's the one you're most passionate about.
I'm very passionate about education because it's the one thing once you get it, no one can take it from you.
You can't take it away.
Yes. Special rules. which is interesting. So special rule kind of is like the catch-all. So if they have some legislation that's like a study committee, or they can't figure out where they're going to put it, it comes to our committee. Okay. And then code revision, that was the one I was kind of intrigued by, because in code revision is where bills come that if once they're passed and they're in law and they need some minor corrections, whether it's punctuation or something, or like one of the first years, the MARTA Act had never been codified into the law, so it came to code revision committee. And then I have industry and labor. Industry and labor is a committee that oversees like workers' comp. So like, or if Georgia's minimum wage is ever raised, it will come through that committee. And so just laws like that related to workers. I'm also on small business.
Okay.
Which is something I'm very passionate about. We have the opportunity to drive legislation that support businesses in the state of Georgia. And the newest committee I got added to was agriculture and consumer affairs. I didn't know about the consumer affairs, but yeah, so I was like, that's kind of strange, but it was interesting because I wanted to be on agriculture because last year when they redistrict, my district changed.
Okay.
So now my district covers parts of DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton County, and Newton County has a little more rural. Okay. So I thought that I would be able to, enhance my ability to serve my constituents in agriculture. But the bonus was the consumer affairs, because that's where they addressed there was a company that was trying to bring in make credit repair legal in Georgia, so like financial issues and things like that also come through consumer affairs. So I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, but ag especially, because there are so many opportunities that big farmers know about, right? But a lot of the smaller farms, and now we're seeing more urban farms or community gardens and things like that a lot of people don't know that there are opportunities and resources available to folk, that farm.
Okay.
And farming is way different than what, think when we came up, they're not out in the field.
It's not the plantation.
Oh no, it's not the plantation. A few years ago I went out to Iowa to an urban ag conference, and not only it's not plantation style, it's a lot of technology that's in place, and they just have thousands and thousands of jobs that they can't fill. But bringing it back home is I had the director for the executive director for Georgia USDA out in our district, because like I said, I wanted to be able to bring resources back to my district so people understand what's available. And we learned so much by having him there. Even with you, with the basil that you are growing, this is it's part of farming. It's part of agriculture. And so one of the things that we learned was that you don't have to have thousands and thousands of acres to access funding through USDA. He said you could have as little as 1/10 of an acre, that they have funding where if you wanted to acquire land to farm, or if you had a 1/4 acre, that you could still potentially access some of the resources. If you're growing something on your property, or if you needed assistance in growing, let's say you have some property, so even here, your home, it doesn't have to be like an open field. It could be land on the property where you live. If you decided that you were going to plant and grow some stuff, you have become a farmer. And if you have access to at least 1/8 of an acre, and then the other caveat is you have to have a farm number. Okay. Because that farm number is what gets you into the USDA registry. And so once you have the certification or that farm number, then it opens the door for you to access resources.
Okay.
Well,
so if I'm growing, and I have and it's on an 1/8 of an acre,
1/10 of an acre,
1/10 of an
1/10.
acre, 1/10 of an acre, I can apply for my farm number.
Right, and so if the property has to be 1/10 of an acre, but you didn't necessarily have to use the whole 1/10 to grow, because I mean, I'm not a farmer, but it's and basically it just doesn't take a lot. And I know, like during COVID, a lot of my friends started growing their own fruits and vegetables because a lot of people, they wanted to eat healthier, and because it was just so hard to find stuff in the store.
Yes.
And so the other thing that you get access to the same resources that big farmers do. So if the weather damages your crop, you could file a claim and you could be compensated for those losses the same way the big farmers. But a lot of people don't know that, and they're growing things. And I'm like, we just took fresh basil that you grew, and we used it as part of what we did for our meal, right? And is this part of it's part of your business, it's part of your commodity, it's something that is worth looking into.
I think we all should look into it.
We all should, because like I said, the other thing is, even let's say if you like, there's a piece of property that I just found out about that's potentially available. I could go to the USDA and get funding to acquire that property, get additional funds to help start whatever it is I want to grow on that property. Because we were in North Carolina, I think, and they have like where they're revitalizing communities, and they're putting in neighborhood gardens where they're putting out fruits and vegetables out in the neighborhoods where people, if they're hungry, they can just go over there and just grab it. Yeah.
Free grocery store.
Free groceries, and it's happened to address, food deserts. But if you wanted to do that as part of your business, part of your industry, and you are growing fruits, vegetables, anything that comes up out of the ground, or if you have some livestock. I met some ladies the other week that's, herding cattle. I was like, that is just amazing. I even met a young lady who grows tea.
Grows tea.
He grows her tea, and she sells and manufactures tea. Here
in Georgia?
Yes. Wow. And I just recently learned that there's somebody in Georgia doing coffee beans. I'm going to find them. But yes,
wait, growing coffee beans here in Georgia.
Yes. Oh, and Georgia. The other thing that people I don't think are aware of, they wine.
Yes.
Growing the grapes. Georgia pre-prohibition was slated for wine country. And so, so what we've been working on is getting our rightful place back in the wine industry. So, folks, it's some good wine here in Georgia, and people just have to, go out and find it. But back to, like, again, being on a small business committee, industry and labor, education, all of this comes together. One of the things we did this year also is we expanded ag education in our elementary schools throughout the state, because agriculture is the #1 industry in the state of Georgia. Wow. Yeah, and so I think there are some opportunities. Folk, like I said, we had the executive director here. We have a direct line with the folk and USDA for Georgia to be able to support them. You have your 4-H around the state. There are organizations that are looking for regular folk
people,
who are farming that they can support.
All right, take a breath and eat.
Okay.
Very tasty.
It is good. Now, I don't know if it's the peppers or the pastas taste something sweet.
That would be a little bit of the basil.
The basil. Mmm. Oh, so the basil, that replaces anybody trying to put sugar in their food.
Yeah, it's definitely the sweet. So even when you're growing basil, they have different versions, like a peppery one, a sweet basil, and you grow the different ones. You can even grow basil in a pot like you see, or you can have it outside, in the ground. And you can even pick a pot like that and grow different herbs all together that complement one another, companion planting.
Yeah.
And so, you can grow a lot of things in pots. So a 1/10 of an acre, 1/8 of an acre, you can grow a ton of food.
I have a girlfriend, she has an amazing garden. And again, like we, earlier this year, we had a really bad cold period, right? Wiped out almost all the oranges in Georgia. Apples, oranges. Yeah, the oranges. And the farmers just filed a claim. And even if you had your own garden, you had your farm number, and your crops were affected, you also could apply for relief.
the USDA should be looking for me. I'm going to be looking for them.
Oh, absolutely.
They need to get ready to see me.
So we, like I said, we had them out in my district. We're going to bring them back. And so our goal now is to find, smaller farms that need that support and make sure we get the word out.
So for the everyday guy, how do we find that information? Like, it's like some of the stuff I've never heard before. Like, how do you find the information as the everyday citizen?
Well, I think in conversations, thank you for inviting me to join you to have the conversation.
Oh,
so
yes.
this information, that I share, but if someone hears this, you can go to the USDA's website and just do a search, or go to Georgia Agriculture's website. It's just, if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know.
But once we know, we have an obligation to share that information with people.
And even sometimes
And talk to your state rep.
And talk
They
to your
nice
state
people.
rep. When you hear information, sometimes you always think it's for other people.
I know.
You tend to not think it's for us.
Well, let me tell you another thing he told me. I was like, oh, because he was there. So they have a depending on where you're from, pecan or pecan. They have pecan funding. I said, wait, hold up. I've got a couple pecan trees in the backyard, right? And the one it needs some TLC. They have a program. The USDA has a program for pecans. Yeah, I'm like, who knew? I didn't even know. Yeah.
Who knew? Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we're going to see a lot more of that. You seeing more farm to table, and as people decide that they want to eat healthier.
Yes, that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
So we can eliminate some of these health issues in our communities.
Yes, we can do it. One plate at a time.
One plate at a time. So your other committees, your education committee, you can eat.
Oh my God, education.
I saw a video on the floor giving a address about it. Very passionate. Very. You could tell that like that's your thing. That's it. Y'all need to listen to me about this. I mean, you didn't say that, but that's how I felt watching it. Like, why are you so passionate about education? Because that's, I know that's the thing people can't take from you. But.
Education is a direct tie to economic development.
Okay.
Community development, public safety, right? The better the schools in a community, the better resources are in those communities, less crime is in that community, things that people need are in those communities, right? So we have to fight hard every day to ensure that we have the best quality education in our community schools because it affects our community. And what I've seen a couple things since I've been in the legislature, every year there's something that is proposed that drains resources from public schools.
Yes.
And then the other thing that happens is not only draining those the resources, funding. So the first few years that I was in office, we did not fully fund what we call QBE, the funding formula for education. And because I'm an accountant, I wanted to understand those numbers. And so I had someone who really understood Georgia's budget and funding that walked me through this process of the budget, which, by the way, is our only legal obligation is to pass a budget when we're in session. But she says we walked through it, as what Georgia had historically done was set the expenses for the budget, projected the revenue, and whatever that deficit was, they took it out of the education budget. And that's where we got these austerity cuts. And so what's happening now is we're fully funding it, but we're fully funding a formula that's inadequate to really be able to provide the resources that our children need.
So for funding, is that done state level and local level together or separately?
Separate. So there's a portion of the local school budgets that comes from the state. Now, granted, the biggest portion of Georgia's budget is education, but not all of it is K through 12. And so in order for us to provide not just the funding, but even the flexibility for teachers to be able to teach the child in the seat, the legislation drives that. And if we don't amend this funding formula, there could be money that's in that's sent to the local districts that they can't use as best as they need to because their hands are tied because of the law.
Well, that's no good.
I know. So we want to fund it, amend the formula, and do everything we can to continue to improve the schools in our local community.
Is that the same effect on public colleges? Or is that part of the budget?
So part of the education budget does provide some funding for colleges and universities, but that's a different pot than what comes out of K through 12. We want to make sure that they're getting a great education so that when they get to college, they can be successful in college.
I got you.
Yeah.
We're still eating.
Okay.
So I want to ask you, for your district, since it's so many things, how do you decide what to make the priority for your district as a whole? So some is rural, some's a little more urban. Each area has so many different things going on. Do you guys look to the local areas and say, hey, what do you guys need? Or do you interact with the...
Yeah, so it's a combination of, you're going to have what you're passionate about, always, right? Or what your expertise is. And then there are things that happen in your local district that drives part of the agenda. So what the counties, so I have 3 different counties. So what the counties usually do is they'll either have a meeting or they'll send us their legislative priorities. And the school, so I have 3 different school districts as well, and they'll send us their legislative priorities. Or again, someone in the community had an issue, they can bring it to us. So we definitely communicate with the local jurisdictions because there is some legislation that they cannot initiate for themselves, that it has to come from the General Assembly. And good legislators, listen to what the local governing bodies are proposing because they're the ones that's the closest to those people and it's affecting them. And the locals elected them. And so, like I said, so when one of my priorities is if a local jurisdiction wants some legislation, I ask them to send me a resolution. And basically that's them passing legislation within their local jurisdiction that their body voted on and then brings it to us. So they've had community meetings for the most part. They've talked to the residents in their area, and then that's what they bring that to us, and we'll work on that particular legislation. Not all legislators operate like that, but I try to.
You try to. Unrelated but related. You mentioned they vote on stuff. So as the citizens go to vote at the state level, what should they actually be looking for from the candidates? Like, do we even know what is your job description?
So honestly, as a state representative, I have one legal responsibility, and that's pass state budget.
That's it?
That's my only legal obligation. However, because we do produce other laws, we pass those laws, but legally that's not our legal job. So if there's people who want to carry firearms, we pass legislation on what that looks like.
Okay.
People who in the food industry, we're gonna produce legislation around what you can bring to the states or what can happen in what type of establishments.
Wait, so let's stop on the food for 1 second.
Okay.
So I don't want to call it fake food, but the fake food that's being created, you guys vote to say y'all can have that or not?
Yeah, so
you're the one saying that.
Not me.
Give them the fake food.
No, not me. But there are different committees address various issues. That some of that stuff probably will come through agriculture if they're growing it. We will address it. We have experts that will come and bring testimony or they'll provide information for us. And then sometimes you have lobbyists that are out lobbying to be able to bring various things. I remember a few years ago there was some legislation that was passed that reduced the amount of information that we were going to receive on labeling. And I think that's something we've got to go back and take a look at because there are so many alternatives out there. What becomes certified, so the USDA is looking at some of those things, but then Georgia in particular could look and say, okay, here's what we're going to allow in the state of Georgia.
So if the USDA and the FDA says, hey, we're going to approve this, Georgia can say, not here.
We could limit it. Okay. If the will is there. Yes. So that's why voting is important. Electing people, I think you got to, no one's going to be an expert on everything, right? Because that's just, like I said, we've got thousands of bills that come through. And for the most part, we're going to focus on the ones that's coming through our committee. We're paying attention to the other bills because they may come to the floor. But your day-to-day when we're in session, you're trying to make sure you are prepared for your committee hearings. Because whether or not a bill makes it to the floor for a full body vote depends on what happens in a committee. So you always want to be able to do that. And then if there's something really controversial, we're trying to tap in, or we've got people bringing us reports. I mean, it's a lot going on.
A lot going on. So if a controversial bill happens to get passed, and later on they go, this is crazy, I don't know why we passed this, can it be amended or changed or just be struck down, like done away with?
It can, and it depends.
Oh. And what are those two things?
So, Georgia recently did the 6-week abortion ban. There's a lot of controversy around that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of women don't agree. But then the majority party and our governor, they support that. So that piece of legislation passed, is gone into law. Of course, it's gone to the courts. But we could bring it back if there's a will of the majority of people in the legislature and the will of the governor at the time to be able to sign some legislation that will roll that back.
Okay. So some of these things can be kind of undone or amended or changed.
It can be amended. So in a case where it was something that was a constitutional amendment, like, we've been talking about casinos in Georgia, right?
Yes.
Well, in order for casinos to come to Georgia, we have to have a constitutional amendment. Right now, it's not legal to bring casino gambling in Georgia. But if we are able to agree on legislation, it'll go on a referendum, meaning that the people would vote. And if it passes, we could eventually see casinos in Georgia.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So it just depends. So that's, change. Like we have the lottery, which also had to have a constitutional amendment for us to do lottery gambling because it's still gambling in Georgia. So it really just depends.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's in office and who's the loudest?
So right now in politics is so very divisive. Mm-hmm. Is there a way that, forget party, I don't know why people pick party over principle, but is there a way for legislators to do a better job of working together and try to find a common ground and do what's best for most citizens? Because it's not going to be all, but for most citizens.
Yeah. So I think a lot of time what happens is people see what happens in the federal government and they think that same thing going on at state government. And the federal government is very polarized. The state is somewhat, but not as much. But at least 80 to 85% of the bills that get passed in the state of Georgia is passed by almost 100% of the legislature. So it's only a few bills, and that's when it comes to vouchers, or last year mostly is education related. Okay. Oh my God! So you have the divisive concepts, so the banning of books, or when there's legislation that requires mandatory minimums, right? And so a lot of times you're gonna see Democrats are gonna fight against legislation with mandatory minimums because it ties the hands of the judges that may want to do some sensible
Yes.
rulings. And so those are the kind of things. But for the most part, we do agree. We were able to work together this year on the budget because most of the years we voted against the budget, but the last year or so we voted for the budget. Fortunately, the governor came back and vetoed some of the stuff that we all agreed on. but yeah, so but I think what has to happen is more people. We have to talk to each other. We have to be more civil. One of the things that I said is I thought coming to the General Assembly in the committee process that we would actually dialogue about legislation together. But what happens is someone has some legislation that they're forcing us. And it's the system is almost made to you either for it or against it. So there's really no real reasoning together or real compromise. Some of the bills, if they're really harmful, we'll try to make some amendments. But I think if we just change the way that we did legislation in Georgia, I think that we could alleviate a lot of this discord.
Okay.
But that's just not how we do
business. The way they do business is that like a legal structure? It's like this is how we have to do it, or is it just?
No, a lot of it is like it's how he done it. It's like if it's the governor's priorities, even if it's something that the majority of Georgians don't want, but if it's his priority, he has his folk that are going to work as hard as they can to get this legislation. I am kind of proud. We did have the voucher bill that came. And we were able to defeat that, even though it was a bill that the governor wanted. But we mean the Democrats, we have a special committee for education that I actually lead, where we came together, we strategized, and we put together an argument against that piece of legislation that even quite a few Republicans agree with, and we were able to vote that bill down. I am seeing many that we've been able to come together to do that because it just didn't make sense, right? And however, we have a process that they call, you could do a reconsideration. So even though it failed, someone did a reconsideration, so it's still alive. So when we come back next year, it can come back up. But it's one of those bills that just really didn't make sense. And even Republicans, people in conservative districts knew that it was not going to be the best for their constituents.
How long is your legislative session each year again? Sorry. I know it's hard to eat and talk at the same time.
So we in session for 40 days, not 40 consecutive days, but it's 40 days. So by law, we have to meet 40 business days.
For the whole year?
For the whole year.
Wow, okay.
And we get a lot done.
You get a lot done?
Yeah.
So that's not the whole... So all of the legislators, like, what are you doing this time off? I mean, I know they pay you a ton of money to do that job. So...
Can y'all give us a ton of money? No, we don't get a ton of money. I think we finally made it at $23,000. So wow. You either own a business, you work, farmers, executives, or retired.
Wow.
So,
You own a business? What's your business?
So I have a financial education company.
Okay.
By education, I am an accountant, but I like teaching money management. So, I started something called the Wealth and Wisdom Resource Group to teach people how to manage money. Yeah.
Okay.
And I work in nonprofit accounting.
Nonprofit accounting.
Yeah.
And who do you help with that? Like small businesses, individuals?
So, some fairly large nonprofits, I'll either go in to work in a controller or the CFO role. And the last couple of contracts I've done, I've gone in and helped them with their year-end audits or process improvements, different things like that. But my passion is financial education. I love helping people understand money.
Individuals or large groups, families?
Either.
Do you have programs? Do you have like programs for families or individuals?
So we designed a money management software program that we're upgrading. It's called Who Moved My Money, and I authored a book called The Miseducation of the Christian on Money and Giving, which yeah. So
You use like Lauryn Hill theme music.
Oh wow, yeah, yeah. So I got a master's in theology, and so
Wait, and you're a preacher too?
they won't let me preach. But so yeah. Anyway,
You're a master's in theology.
yeah, and I recently got an honorary doctorate in Christian business management.
So you're that person that comes up to the pulpit, Reverend Doctor so and so and so and so.
You really could. No, wait. You got to do the honorable Reverend Doctor.
Oh, I'm sorry. The honorable Reverend Doctor.
Yeah, you got to keep that state rep part of that. Yes. But yeah, so when I was working on my master's, I had an opportunity to teach in a Bible college, so I taught all the financial classes, the biblical financial classes. But my thesis was on biblical finances. And so basically, I took my thesis and we edited it and we produced a book called A Miseducation of the Christian on Money and Giving. And it's an in-depth study from Genesis to Revelation on what the Bible says about money and giving. Yeah.
Tell me one thing that we usually get wrong, since it's the miseducation, that we usually get wrong if you're a Christian about money.
You know, I'm so
Just
glad you asked me that. I'm going to give you this one. I think this is the best one. I hope it set people free. But Ecclesiastes 10:19 says, money answereth all things. Because most of us were taught to believe that money was evil. Because there's a scripture in the Bible that says it's the root of money is the root of all evil. It's the lack or the wrong relationship with money is the love of money. I wanted to make sure I got it right. It's the love of money, translated the wrong relationship with money is the root of all evil. And so a lot of us grew up hearing that money was bad, money was evil, rich people are evil, because the scripture says it's hard for a rich man to get into heaven. It'd be easier to get through aisle needed in heaven because, they're tired, they got the wrong relationship with money. But when the first time I heard a minister quote Ecclesiastes 10:19, that just totally set me free and gave me a totally different perspective about money. And I think that's the one thing that we could teach people. There's nothing wrong with money if you understand how to use it proper. Use money, don't let money use you.
Don't let money use you. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Get rid of that poverty of mind.
Got to get rid of it because there's absolutely nothing we could do today without some money. Somebody paid for this.
Even had to buy the seeds to grow the basil.
Absolutely. That's right. And so everything, so we could do that. So, so I'm looking forward to actually going back into the financial education industry full time. So that's my goal. Where I won't have to go in contract for other people, but really just teach people this how to really be free when it comes to money.
Wow, help me. But where can people find you?
Oh man,
and keep up with all
over social media.
Amazing things you're doing.
So my main platform is Doreen Carter. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram,
like at
Facebook.
Doreen Carter on Instagram.
No, just Doreen Carter.
Doreen Carter.
Or either my legislative is Doreen #4GA, and you can find that in Instagram or Facebook as well. So yeah, but Doreen Carter.
Wow.
Yeah.
I hope people listen to this and have a little initiative to get involved and find out about their representative and what they're doing and what's available for them and all the many resources that we're finding out that are there. We just don't take advantage of them. A lot
of resources. So it's a great opportunity to share this, and we'll be doing more. And I do have a website. It's DoreenCarter.com, which is my legislative website. Okay. And we'll make sure that as we're doing things in the community, and I'm always bringing resources, especially when it comes to businesses. Like, next week we'll have someone from Georgia Economic Development coming out to talk to the business owners on how to do business in the state of Georgia. Or for domestic violence awareness, we're going to be having a team forum to teach them about, the laws and, domestic violence.
Teenagers.
Teens. I want to focus on the young people, but it is open to anybody. But I think we continue to pass so many laws in the state of Georgia that's sending our children and loved ones to jail that we've got to do something to get them to understand how these laws work. And we're working on bringing more information to the communities around gun safety and really the best use of guns, because their guns aren't going nowhere. And we don't want everybody to have them, but folk got them, you need to understand how to use them so that people could be safe.
Very true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Doreen, I appreciate you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, the food
And
was
free
amazing.
me.
Free me. And you did
You
a
made
great
me
job.
work for it,
You did a great job, Chef
good.
Doreen.
I did good. Okay, I got a new title.
Chef Doreen. Chef Reverend Dr. Representative Doreen.
See, I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So, as always, it is our goal to share good people, good conversation, and good food. I hope you guys enjoy this, and we'll see you next time.